Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Chuks Theodore. I'm a solutions architect working with Cisco. I'm currently managing country digital acceleration, which is geared towards our new our new dream for every country and continent. And what I currently do is I incubate startups to adapt to Cisco technology, incubate startups to see how they can use our technology to solve solutions. And I'm also an advocate for digital literacy. So digital literacy covers um, all Cisco portfolios, everything we do in Cisco, for people to be aware of what we do, how we do them, and how it fits into their daily life. Um, also, I'm also an instructor with over 13 years of experience. So I've been teaching Cisco technologies for a while now. And what again should I say about myself? And I'm also here. So I found myself in Cisco. So my a bit of my journey to Cisco is quite funny. And if we start talking about it now, we might not, end the call in about 3 or 4 hours. But one thing that is peculiar about my 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 journey in network engineering and network security, even in the tech industry, is consistency. I'll tell you something about. I'll tell you a bit about Bawali, right? The guy, he champions this community, and we also help from the back end. You guys don't get to see me, but I'm always there. I know, drop one or two tips. We talk. We do things in the back end. But I've never knew Bawali from the get go. Yeah, I met Bawali on a project. Like we just came on a project meeting, and I met him. Very very hardworking guy, smart, and we just kind of connected on the first day. That's it. We just connected, and since then I think it's been 4 years now. Also, I think it's been 3 4 years now that we've known each other, and
3 years.
yeah, 3 years now. And we've been doing stuff together. You get so. One thing I need to tell you is one thing that is peculiar to um, that you need to understand, that you need to know, is you in this field of IT generally, you need to be consistent. And when I mean consistent, I don't mean like you do it when it's good, or when you do it. When I mean good, you do it when the odds are in your favor. Maybe you do a config and everything is working, you do this and everything is just going smooth, blah blah blah. Maybe one day you do something and it doesn't work, or it doesn't turn out good, and you just give up and you say, oh, network engineering is not for me. No, that day that you say is not for you is actually the day it is for you, right? I know a lot of you will say, oh, how did he get to Cisco? How did Bawali get to Fortinet? Guys, we were consistent. That's what I can tell you. We were consistent. I used to remember when Bawali would tell me, oh, Chuks, what are you working on now? I'll say, Bawali, see what I'm working on. Bawali will say, oh, Chuks, see what I'm working on. Oh, how do we complement each other? Oh, can you share this resources with me? Oh, Bawali, what do you think about this? Now, we kept on being consistent, even in days that things were not going fine, even in days that our configs were not working, even in days that our reports were not top notch to the management. But we kept on working, we kept on pushing, we kept on trying. It is only in trying that you are perfect. You can never start configuring a firewall from off your head. It's only if you understand ingress interface and egress interface. That's where you can know, oh, I need to permit traffic from here to there. But if you don't actually study, how do you understand that you need to permit traffic? How do you understand implicit denial? How do you understand the subnet? How do you even understand protocols? How do you understand application firewall? How do you understand all these things if you don't study? If you don't interact, if you don't be consistent? I mean, let's take for example, today is Saturday, and it's obvious I'm not sitting in my house. I'm sitting in the office. I'm sitting in the office because not like I said you should not have a life, but you have something you are chasing. Let me even break it to you guys. I'm chasing my CCI. And in chasing my CCI, there are other certifications I need to write. There are other things I need to do. I still have to like meet up to my personal things, like my personal goals. So, a life of a network engineer, you are a life learner. Not to even talk of you being in security. Like in security, you have to be 2 steps ahead. I'm going to share my screen very soon and I'll start showing you guys stuff. You have to study, like you have to be wild. If you want to be on top of the ladder in this industry, you just have to study wild. You just have to accommodate everything that comes to your head. As far as it's network engineering, you have to just, or network security engineering, you have to accommodate anything. Once anything is said across you, you turn and say, oh, what does this thing do? Oh, how does it work? How do I integrate? Where do I get more information? Papa, top of your finger. And you get it and you move on. I'm a network security engineer, but I know a bit of wireless. I do wireless as well. I'm a network security engineer, but I do data center. I do enterprise. Now, all these things that I've been able to put together for myself, I did not just learn it on my own, but in the process of you getting to your destination, you will meet things that require that you pause a bit, get them, and continue. I'm not saying you should not get them. Get them because at some certain point in your career, it's going to fetch you something that you don't believe that it will fetch you. Let me give you an instance. I'm a network security engineer today, but I'm still a solutions architect, yeah? And I'm still an instructor. It doesn't mean that if somebody calls me and say, oh, Chuks, we have a group of people to teach CCNA, or we have a group of people who want to teach network security, I will not teach them. I will teach them. I will teach them. And that fetches me extra income. If somebody calls me today and say, oh, Chuks, we have a router to configure somewhere, we have a switch to configure somewhere, definitely, I will do it. Because it's it's what I've learned along my career path. Right? But the focus today is network security engineering, right? From Bali, what's the topic again? I think I've forgotten.
That's
Network
network
security, network
security
security
roadmap
roadmap.
for
Yeah, network security roadmap. So how did you even start from where you are now to where you want to be? What you need to understand about network security is you have to be vendor neutral. You have to open your mind. You have to open your mind, but understand that the underlying technology, the underlying principle is the same. There might be a different way of configuring an allow policy on firepower, and there might be a different method of configuring um, allow policy on a vendor firewall, for instance, maybe a Fortinet or a Palo Alto firewall. But it is the same concept. It is just different pattern. You just need to understand the pattern. And it is not like Boali is not like in the previous days when we learned and everything was in CLI. Yeah? Guys, everything is now even going to GUI. And
as
it's
in
even
it's
surpassing,
much more
it's
more
much even
simpler these
easier.
days.
Yes, it's much easier. It's much easier. Everything is coming to CLI. Everything has even moved. Most of the things are now moving to automation. It's making it more easier. I'm telling you, it's making it more easier. Our days, we had to configure ASC firewall via CLI. CLI, like you sit down, CLI, and you type, you want to set up something and you type a whole lot of commands and all of that. But now you have NGF firewalls, you have FTD, you have FMC, in Fortinet, you have GUI, in Palo Alto, you have Panorama to manage your firewalls. So, guys, what I'm saying, So the thing is, what's actually stopping you? What's stopping you? There's nothing. It's just yourself. So I'll share my screen and then we'll get into the business of the day. Please, it's an interactive session. Yeah? It's an interactive session. Unmute your mic at any time. Raise up your hand. Once you raise up your hand, I'll stop you. Ask me your question. We share it and we continue. Please ask me your question. I expect your questions. Okay, so don't mind my tab, yeah? Okay. So now the roadmap I'm going to give you is what worked for me. What might work for you might be different. What will work for you might be different, but I want to give you what works for me. Now, I'm going to start by giving you a rundown of a life of a network security engineer. Now, a life of a network security engineer, you have to expect the unexpected. And the unexpected is you could finish your shift. Maybe if you work in an environment that is shift based, you could finish your shift and you go to bed and you get a call maybe sometime later, early in the morning, or maybe in the middle of the night that maybe something is wrong, right? What do you do first? That's the question. I'm asking everybody, like it's a question. What do you think you should do? Or what do you feel you would do? If it's in your scenario, what do you think you would do? It's a question, guys. I'm asking the question. Anybody? Temi Tope, Adewale.
I will check in the office, or it depends on the way the network is set up. I guess if it's possible for me to log into my computer and get a CLI or a server or something, I guess. I'm really not, but that's what I have to say.
Okay. Yes, any other person? Felix, I want to hear your voice. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is this Lydia?
Okay, getting a call from the office and your server, your system is down.
You have to get to the office first.
No, first of all, I have to call to where to start waiting for. Is to ask
your audio is
questions
breaking.
to narrow
Your
down.
audio is breaking. Felix, your audio is breaking. I can't hear you. Are you on transit? Temi Tope.
Huh?
I think we have two Temi Tope on the call. Adewale, I've not heard your voice. Oh, again, I've not heard. Some of you have not heard your voice apart from Boale and Temi Tope and Felix. Are you guys shy to speak or you don't have anything to say? Okay, let me just go on. So in my own case, I already know my network. And what I would do is first thing, what I would do is to first of all ask questions. What is going on? So when you hear someone speak, and you pay good attention, you might have solved 30% or 40% of your problem because you work with information. It was working fine before, but something happened. So what happened? Even if it's an external issue or external threat, in this case, let's look at it as an external threat. At what point was it noticed? What device was it noticed at first? Maybe that device was the device that the attack was launched from, or maybe the problem originated from. So first thing I would do in my case is pay attention as possible to whatever question that is asked, whatever question that I ask or that is asked. And I wouldn't go to start logging into devices because I know my network, I know the firewall, I know it connects to this place, I know how integrations are done because it's my network. I sit on the network, I work on the network. I manage it, I administer it. The first thing you do is to ask questions, and those questions will help you know where the problem is and where to actually look into. Now, imagine you're managing a network like First Bank or GT Bank or even places like Needs. Just talk about big networks. You can't just log into devices or even in the switch. You can't just log into devices and start working. No, you have to ask questions. You have to ask, oh, what went wrong? Um, how was the behavior before this time? There are also like tools that will help you pick incidents, right? But what I'm here to do now is to give you a roadmap, things you need to study, things you need to study, things you need to do, things you need to start doing if you're not doing them, right? And with that, you can be a good network security engineer. So first of all, a lot of people will tell you, oh, being a network security engineer, you don't need networking, you don't need to get CCNA, you don't need this, you don't need that. But my question is, are you taught IPv4 or IP address assignment, or are you taught routing in in any security course, maybe network security or CCNA security? When they used to have CCNA security, are you taught that? You're not. I don't see it in the curriculum because everything is tailored to curriculum. So, in my opinion, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't need network. I don't need to know what routing is. I don't need this." But guys, you need to. Even if you're not going to take the certification, you need to. And over time, being in the Cisco environment for about a couple of years now, and being an instructor, over time, we looked for a scenario where there were going to be introductory courses that would enable people, would enable newbies or upcoming network and security engineers get a feel of what CCNA looks like, right? And during the pandemic, and even before the pandemic, I think it was before the pandemic or so, that Cisco introduced Skills for All. I think it was before the pandemic. I couldn't remember, but they introduced Skills for All, and Skills for All had all the Skills for All had all the necessary introductory courses that one needs to know before jumping into a major career. Now, for network security, I always recommend get CCNA knowledge, not the certification. Get CCNA knowledge. You can decide to get the certification if you want to show competence. That means you now have competence for enterprise on the entry level. It's totally fine. But I would always recommend that you get the CCNA skill, not certification. The skill, not the certification, right? Then after that, if Skills for All was available then, but for now, what I would recommend is, first of all, you start from this point. You might say, oh, I don't need all of these. I don't need to troubleshoot networks. I'm not pulling cable. I'm not pulling that. But what if you get to a data center, for instance, and you are activating an interface and it doesn't come up, and you're sure that the interface is working? What will you do? Will you wait for the network engineer to come and change the cable for you, or change the fiber connection, or change the SFP? Right? No, you're not going to wait for that. You are going to go ahead and do it because you have the skill. Now, if you don't have the skill, it becomes a bottleneck. There's a delay, right? There's a delay in service delivery. You are not meeting your mean time to repair, right? MTTR. Your MTTR, what is it called? MTTR SLA, service level agreement, is being breached because you can't meet that because obviously you don't have the knowledge. But if you would have gotten your CCNA knowledge, you know how to check cables, you know types of fiber connections, you know types of SFP models, you can just go ahead and change your cable and you move on with your life, and everybody's happy. So get the knowledge, right? Get the knowledge and not the certification. Now, what courses will I recommend? I would recommend network basics. You go for network basics. You also look at network support and security. These are all basics, right? You can decide to go whichever one you want to. These are all basics. You can also try your hands on networking devices and initial configuration. Like, get this, they are all basics. Then from there, you move to cybersecurity. You move to cybersecurity. This is now where what you have done in networks, and this makes sense before you advance. So this gives you like entry-level knowledge of what endpoint security is, what cyber threat management is, introduction to cybersecurity, and even network defense. This network defense here you see here is all focused on network security. And let's even dive down a little bit into the curriculum. Let's dive down a little bit. What does it contain? You can see the module. It contains understanding network defense. Yeah, system and network defense, access control. Access control in terms of who accesses devices, and all of that. Then it has good topics, things like access list, firewall technology, zone-based firewall, zone-based policy firewall, cloud security, even cryptography, right? Network data, evaluating alerts, technologies and protocols. Yes, let me talk about it.
Sorry, sir. Are there labs in these modules?
Yes, they are all labs. There are a lot of labs here. There are a lot of labs here. There are a lot of, let me see if I can open one of them. There are a lot of labs, actually. I don't know if I can launch this. Okay, look at it. 29 labs. Can you see that?
Yes,
29.
sir.
Imagine 29. And you have how many chapters? You have about 8 chapters. And you have 29 labs. So if you divide 29 by 8, that's how many? It means in each chapter you have at least 3 labs or 2 labs. 3 or 2 labs. Right? So when you are done with this, what do you earn? What do you stand to gain? Right? First of all, you gain network defense achievement, you gain firewall and cloud security achievement, then you also gain security alerts. Now, what you need to understand is whenever you're taking a course, first of all, look at what will I gain from this course? Will this course skill me up? Will it improve my resume? Will it also add to my bargaining power? You see that bargaining power, a lot of people don't concentrate on it. Oh, they just want certification, they just want this, they just want that. No. Look at these 3 things. What do I stand to gain? Does it improve me, prove my skill? And does it add to my bargaining power? These 3 things are very, very important. They are very, very key. Very, very, very key. Now, if you have any other questions about this course, you can ask me, but they are all found on Skills for All, right? This is the first tour. I'll be giving you a tour of this website before we move to the major one, right? Then I'll also show you sites where you can find some useful information as well, right? So I would recommend you go through network security. I would strongly recommend it. You go through network security.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, you're welcome. Then, one that people don't talk about more is, as a network security engineer, you cannot escape it. What I'm about to talk now, what I'm about to say now, you cannot escape it. The knowledge of Linux, right? The knowledge of Linux. How many of you know how to use Linux? Just maybe drop an emoji or just drop an emoji if you can use Linux. Yes, one person. Only one person. If you can use Linux, or if you've gotten any knowledge on Linux, you cannot escape it. All our operating systems, most of our firewall images, firmwares, and OS, they all run on Linux. They all run on flavors of Linux, right? Deep flavors of Linux, Unix. Even the Mac that you use is Unix. Yeah? So I would encourage, Linux is one thing that you need to know, because there at some point in your career, you will need to enter into what is called an expert mode. An expert mode on devices require that you have knowledge of Linux and Bash, right? Because most times, okay, let me give you an instance. Let me say you're working with a support guy, and or you guys are troubleshooting a firewall and something goes wrong, and they said, "Oh, guys, now we need to go to the expert mode to do blah 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 blah," and you are the guy on ground, but you don't have Linux knowledge, right? And at that point, you don't need to share your screen so that they would do it, so that the support guy could help you. It's possible that maybe the firewall needs to be disconnected or something, but just put that Linux. Make sure you learn Linux. Put it on your resume, so that it gives you, a high advantage. It sets you apart. It gives you that different, it just sets you apart from, whatever that is happening around you, or whatever pool of people applying for that job. Yeah. So one other thing I'm going to talk about, before we round up the session, is your resume. I'm going to talk about resume, and just a bit of it. It's going to be like a side, something I just thought of to add. Yeah. So let's go back to exploring this site. Then, I would also recommend that. You look at professional skills. Look at professional skills on your own. Maybe if you want to take a break from all the command lines and protocols and IP addressing, I would encourage that you visit this part of the course or this part of the site and take a course that is not a course that is referred to as a professional skill. Right now, I'm going through engaging stakeholders just for myself. I'm going through this course, not because I don't have any other things to do, but I just want to understand how to better speak to people, because at some point in your career, you would be engaging stakeholders. You'll be gathering requirements of stakeholders to turn it into technology to meet their business demands. Right? Now, let me give you an example. Let me say the business demands identity security. And what is identity security? Identity security can be physical, it can be virtual. And how is it virtual? Virtual means you being able to detect and identify people that connect to the network, maybe via AD. Physical might be you being able to provide AI monitored surveillance system. So properly knowing how to engage a stakeholder, right, would give you the right solution to solve their business demands. And that's why I'm going through this course. So I just felt I should show you guys the same. Now, when you are done with this, you can now take a decision and say, oh, I want to now go into network security. Now, network security is broad. Network security is very, very broad. And there are different roadmaps to it. Now, you could go through network security and just be a firewall guy. You could decide that, oh, I want to just focus on firewalls. You could also go into network security and say, oh, I want to focus on identity management. You could go into network security and say, I want to focus on VPN. I want to focus on anything that has to be VPN. I want to be a bad guy on VPN. Whether the VPN is on any device, I want to just move VPN. Right? But you could also decide to do 3 of them, if any of them actually, if your strength can take it. There's also email security, there's also web security, there's also cloud security, which obviously cloud is the new network now. So by default, it is there, right? But there are different aspects of this. You just need to choose. You just need to choose where you want to focus on. Now, but I would also tell you where I'm focused on. Then you can go from there. So I got my CCNA. My roadmap was I got my CCNA. After I got my CCNA, I got CCNA security. Then after I got CCNA security, because of where I was working at that time, it required me to get which certification was that? Yes, it required me to get Juniper security. So I got some other vendor security as well, like Fortinet. I had Fortinet firewall security certifications at that time. I think NSE 4. Before somehow I got into the industry, then I landed myself in Cisco. But after I got network security, I moved up to get. Let me show you this roadmap. So come to product and services, or let me just search for certification. Let me search for. Let me please security. 50 minutes. Yep. There you go. If you really want to go deep into security in Cisco, then you have to start looking at this exam. You have to start looking at the security track of Cisco, which is the CCNP security. Now, from CCNP security, you can also move up to CCI security and now become a security solutions architect. That's fine. But in the track of Cisco, right, CCNP security is the go-to certification. When it comes to network security engineering, CCNP security is the go-to certification. And let's look at how you even get started. Now, there are several specializations within. Sorry, let me go back. I wanted to take you guys to. Just hold on. Yes, this is what I was looking for. Yeah. So the first thing you need to do in pursuing your CCNP security track is, first of all, the exam is divided into two parts. For you to achieve CCNP security, you need to take two exams. So there's the core exam, which touches bits and pieces of all the specialization exams, right? Then you now take a specialization exam. So you take the core exam, you take the specialization exam, and you get CCNP security. So 2 exams will give you that certification. But you have a skill. Individual certifications come with skill. So if you are taking the core exam, it means that the core exam touches all the specialization exams in bits and pieces. It touches it in bits and pieces, right? But it doesn't touch everything. It doesn't touch in detail everything. It just touches a bit of identity security. It touches a bit of web. It touches a bit of email security. It touches a bit of web security. It touches a bit of VPN. It touches a bit of automation, and it touches a bit of cloud security. Right? Now, with this, it touches all these specializations, right? It touches all these specializations as one exam, which is the core. And when you are done with this core, based on what I said in just a few minutes back, in terms of specialization, you can pick any of these specializations. Which is, for example, you could pick firewall. You could focus on firewall. maybe you just want to be a firewall person. Or you can also pick ICE, Cisco Identity Service Management or Engine. You could pick this certification, implementing and configuring Cisco Identity Services Engine. Or you could pick Secure Networks with Cisco Firewall, Next Generation Firewall, and IPS. This is 2-in-1. Or you can also become an email security guy, or web security guy, or even VPN, or even become an automation guy, depending on what you want to do. But if you are strong enough, you can finish all the specialization. But now, why do I need to finish up all the specialization when I can study for all of them, take the security core exam, and go and attempt my CCIE? So you can take the security core, study for the rest of the specialization exams, right? Just to get the knowledge. Then you can now move and take the CCIE certification exam if you are that strong, if you are that skillful. But also know that the lab exam for CCIE security doesn't come easy, right? There's a lot of technology you need to interact with, quite a lot, right? Then touching about other industries, other vendors will have their own as well, just like Fortinet. I'm aware that Fortinet has, from NSE 4 to NSE 8, and NSE 8 is like, the peak of it. And Palo Alto also has its own, depending on your skill and specialization. I think they have different tracks: network security, cloud security, SASE, and the rest of them. So, but on a general scale, depending on which vendor you want to focus on, and which track you want to focus on, I would recommend that you keep an open mind, right? You keep an open mind, because there are cases where, okay, let me give you a scenario. Let me say you are in an environment, and there is a Cisco firewall, and that is serving a purpose, and maybe you are also using another vendor firewall now, and these two firewalls need to talk to each other. What do you need to do? So that's why I say keep an open mind. Keep an open mind so that you could understand, how these things work. Although they are the same underlying concept, but there are different ways to implement them. The way you might implement, like I said previously, the way you might implement routing on this firewall is not the other way you implement routing or NATs on the firewall, but it is the same concept. It's just that you have different ways of implementing them. Yep. So any questions so far? Any questions?
No, sir. Not
from
from
my
my
end.
end.
Yeah, I think I saw a few guys joining. Welcome. So I'm going to move to. I'll just go to. Just give me a minute. You could also find some few courses on NetAcad as well, right? That are career focused. If you want to focus on cloud security, we have a course on cloud security, but I think maybe, I don't know if this is going to be phased out very soon, but I think it's undergoing an upgrade. Then if you're looking at focusing on so most of the cybersecurity courses we have on NetAcad are advanced, and we have some intermediate ones as well. But the network security here we have is quite advanced, right? This is where you go through configuring ASA firewalls, understanding, how to secure critical infrastructures. It used to be CCNA security at some point. And you see what I was saying, that if you look at the prerequisite of this course now, the preparation, it says that you must have CCNA, right? You must have done introduction to networks. You must have done routing, switching essentials, routing, and wireless essentials, or equivalent knowledge. So that equivalent knowledge means CCNA. Like as a network security engineer, you can't escape it. Like this is me telling you that you can't escape understanding networks. You can't just escape it at all. So you actually need it to forge ahead. Then if you're looking at becoming a cybersecurity analyst, then you should look for going for this course, which is cyber ops. It's a 70-hour course, right? It's a 70-hour course. Is instructor led, which means an instructor must guide you through it. Then after that, you could go ahead and take the certification. Then from here, we also have the CCNP Cyber Ops, but it's not on the academy. CMP. We also have the CCNP Cyber Ops. Oh, this is an ad. Sorry. Cyber Ops. Yes, Cisco Certified Cyber Ops Professional. Let's go there. So look at it. It's also the same. It's also the same pattern, just like CCNP Security. So it has a core exam as well. It has a core exam, and after the core exam, you can see the two specializations. The first specialization is conducting forensic analysis and incident response using Cisco technology for cyber ops. The other one is conducting threat hunting. So there's an analysis and there's hunting, depending on where you want to specialize. If you want to be hunting, you don't need to go and analyze. You just want to hunt. That's all. You just want to be hunting people. I mean, not people, but threat actors or the bad guys. So first of all, is understanding what you want to do. Second is identifying the relevant certifications. Third is going for it. Fifth is achieving it. Sixth is adding it to your resume. Seventh is now improving your bargaining power. So take this as your roadmap. Identify what you want to do. Identify the necessary certifications. Go for them. Certify. Now, you know that not every certification you attempt on the first time you pass. I've not even talked about failure yet. Yes. I failed an exam. I failed a certification. Yeah? And I'm not ashamed to say it. Failing doesn't mean that's the end. I know the skill. I just did not answer the question the way the examiner thought I would. That's just it. And I attempted it and I passed. Yeah? So identify it, pass your certification, add it to your resume, your bargaining power improves. Even your life improves. Because obviously the next person that wants to hire you would know that this guy is skillful enough to add value to your environment. So if you want to focus on network security, you have your CCNA security, you have CCNP security. If you want to focus on you being an analyst, you have CCNA, you have cyber ops associate, you have cyber ops professional. Yeah? Any questions and clarifications from anybody?
So about the security analyst, is there a less entry course than these other ones into security analysis?
There is none. That's why I recommend that you go through skills for all first. Where is it? You go through skills for all, at least understand what cybersecurity is talking about. You can also look at a career path. Now, one other place that I love to click is the career path. I'll paste this link on the community later, this career path. Now, look at it, junior cybersecurity analyst. If you open this, it is still going to give you the same courses I talked about. Look at them, this here. The same courses I talked about. It's still going to give you the same outline. I talked about where it is. Where is it? Okay, junior analyst career path. It's taking me round and round. Let me see. I'm looking for how to see the courses. I don't want to click get started because it's going to allow me to log in. But what you need to know is it will still bring you back to these courses. It will still bring you back to these courses. And I can assure you, if you finish these courses, look at the career path. The career path is this. If you finish these courses, you should be able to, you should be able to move to cyber ops. Yeah, you should be able to move to cyber ops. Because by then you would have understood network fundamentals. You also would have understood what threat hunting is. You also would have understood a bit of network analysis. Then you can advance to cyber ops associate.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, any other further questions? I don't want to keep us long on the session. I want to keep it strictly for about 45 minutes or an hour. It's a weekend so that we can catch up with other things we want to do.
No questions. Just a reminder about the resume session you spoke about.
You said?
I said no questions from my end. Just a reminder about the resume session.
Okay, so if there are no questions here, we understand. I think now we have a good knowledge of maybe some of the courses we need to do and the things we need to focus on. Also, for cybersecurity, you might not need it. You might not need it, but you might not need it immediately along your career. But I'll recommend that you just add, maybe on the side, you can just add a programming skill, even if it's Python. Maybe essentials in Python is I as well have been very lazy in learning that because it's not easy to learn, programming as a network engineer or a network security engineer. But I would encourage you to learn it. It should be part of what you need to add, not to your resume, but to your skill. It will help in terms of automation because most of our environments are moving into automation. So I would encourage you to learn. So I'll stop the recording now because I will need to share something that I don't want it to be on record. Yep.